Hey guys, this is Hamon, and welcome to the 2024 Top 5 of Season 4, where I'm just gonna be reviewing the games that I covered for the entire year and tell you which one are the top 5 best that I played and the top 5 meh of the year. However, there's only 4 for the meh department, so in order to make up for that, I decided to talk about the top worst game of the year that I covered. Yeah, and if you can already tell what I'm gonna say when it gets to that, good on you for keeping track of all the videos. In any case, I am going to say this before we get started. Everything I say in this video is only based on my experience through the games, and therefore it is my opinion on the games that I played. Whether you like the game or hate the game or, various other opinions on the game, you're free to have them. However, this is based on my experience and how I felt about the graphics and the gameplay. Although, to be fair, that a lot of these were before I got the new graphics card, so they might change if it's possible to improve them now. But otherwise, my opinion will remain unchanged based on all that. So, with all that said, let's begin. Okay, so we are going to start off with what I consider to be the worst of 2024 before we get into the meh and the best. And the worst game alone in 2024 that I played out of everything, Overwatch 2. And again, this is just my opinion. Do not freaking come at me. It doesn't matter. I will always find it to be the worst thing to happen in my Steam library. To explain, it's that actually I don't really need to explain. I already explained it in the review video. Go watch that. I will just say that in all the time that it's been out, it has not really done well. Like, sure, there's people still playing it, and good on them for sticking to it. I mean, I don't care if people play it and all that. I just don't like it anymore. And that all started when competitive modes came in at the very first game. So my dislike for this game has been rooted ever since Overwatch 1. So you can take that as you wish. I don't care. I don't really care. I don't care about Overwatch in general. Blizzard has basically just lost my interest in general. Yeah, not playing any more of their games. I gave it a shot in 2024, never again. It was fun at first, but then it's I just started seeing the toxicity once more about how everyone tries to play the meta, how everyone tries to do all the stupid stuff that makes to get the most efficient wins. I wasn't even playing competitive mode. I was just trying to play quick plays and all that. So, yeah, that's about it. That's all I can say. It's the worst game in my opinion for 2024, and I'm sticking to it. And to counterbalance that, I'm going to go with the 5th best game, which in my opinion was Pizza Tower. This Wireland-esque game, I just loved it. It felt so fun. It felt fun to run around bashing enemies and all that with the charge attack and doing all kinds of crazy things to try and get the best scores and all that. I haven't even finished the game, honestly. I need to go back and do that, but it's just fun. I like the bosses despite how hard they are. I like the backgrounds and all that. I like the characters. All of it just really is good. I can't fault it for anything. That's why I consider it the 5th best. And yeah, like I said, this is to counteract the whole thing. So the fact that this is in 5th means that it's far better than what I just said about the first game I just covered by a long shot. I'm gonna mention the honorable mentions when I get to the first, but yeah, it's better than that. Aww. So the 4th meh is Death's Door, because while it is interesting in its design of characters, design of backgrounds, and various other things. It's, at the end of the day, just another roguelike, Dark Souls-esque game that, frankly, because I now have Elden Ring to fully explore now, it's now just on the back burner. Like, it wasn't interesting enough for me to really stay on it. Like, as much as I really wanted to, I can't really see myself going back for a good while. Especially when I have plenty of other games to play now. So, well, again, it is interesting. And I will probably come back to it to finish up the story to see where everything leads to. I am just not that interested in it anymore. It's eh. At fourth best, we have Momodora Moonlit Farewell. And the reason I say this is because this was a surprise for me. Because the game came out of nowhere and I really loved the previous game that I played of them. So I was really surprised that they came out with this one, and it blew me out of the water even more. It's like, it was incredible. And especially when I found out that animators and such that were fans of the game were brought on to make this one. So I really loved that. The art design, the gameplay, everything was just so brilliant. So that's what. Well, but okay. What I'm trying to say is that while that is true, it's only fourth because, like I said, it just came out of nowhere, and so I didn't know anything about the fact that the game was going to be released. So while it is really good, it is definitely not up there. But I will say it was definitely worth my time playing the game. I think I even streamed at 1 or 2 points, and I just loved it. So I definitely would say check this game out if you can. Aww. Now, Anuchard, I decided to make the third most meh because, I mean, similar to Death's Door, it's an okay game experience. Like, I like the design, I like the gameplay mechanics, like, I do find it all interesting to a degree, but the story just didn't really keep me, because part of it is like, I kind of already figured out what could be the possible ending, because it's like, sure, we're trying to figure out all the memories and all that to get people back, but then we're probably gonna find somebody that's gonna be like either the whole reason for it, or someone that sympathizes with the opposite side, trying to, make everything bad for us again. And then it all leads to this big old thing where either everything goes horribly wrong and we end up having to pick up the pieces and all that in order to move on or make the island better all completely, or some other thing like that. Like, all our work will be for nothing at the start. That is like, it goes more better to be toward the end type of thing. So yeah, it's kind of that, I feel like. And so while I do like the game, it's just not that interesting. So meh. Now, while I do say that about Anuchard, I will say Another Crab's Treasure is the third best because it basically gave me a whole different experience and all that. Like, I loved it. Throughout the whole thing. Sure, the mechanics are Dark Souls and all that. Sure, I died a bunch of times to the same enemy and got really mad. But the difference is, they really made it something that's worth going back to every now and then. Like, I am planning to go back and play the game more. Just not right now. Especially since I actually can play Elden Ring. But it's like, I want to finish the story and all that, regardless of if I stream it or not. Like, the fact that if I ever get stuck, that there's an option for me to basically stream through the whole thing, and that is, get a gun, is incredible. And funny at the same time. Like, it really did start as a joke on their TikTok. Like, they were, on TikTok they showed the development and all that, and AgroCraft did. And, the gun thing was a total joke, but people wanted it, and they put it in. And the fact that it's like an accessible thing to make the game easier is brilliant. I like that, because it's like, for me, it was like, everything else didn't matter because it's like I could literally learn how to play the game better, and it just made that so much easier. Because even if I was an expert, if I kept dying to the same boss over and over, I didn't want it to just be like, oh, after leaving and retrying and all that, when I just want to get on with the story, especially if I was streaming, at least I had an option to essentially skip the boss, in a sense. Because while, you know, it would be easier to just have a skip boss fight button thing, I think the fact that I could just get the gun out and shoot them is much funnier. Because it's like, okay, that's it, I'm done, bang, type of thing is just brilliant. So I definitely will say this is definitely worth the place it is in. Aww. Now, getting into second place, both games that are covered in Meh and Best are spin-offs from the popular thing of, I guess, Supermarket Simulator. I don't know if it was the original thing that brought it up, but it certainly made copies of this, so it definitely is worth mentioning that while it is not on the list, Supermarket Simulator is definitely the core reason that these games exist. For second most meh, we have Supermarket Together, a free-to-play multiplayer version of Supermarket Simulator that is kind of fun. I will give it that, you know, the idea that you're running a shop together with other folks is a brilliant idea, because then it brings the whole idea that other folks can, you know, help you make money or hinder you by giving people cash, harassing folks with brooms, doing all kinds of stuff, throwing out product, all that kinds of crazy shenanigans that can mess things up for you. And yeah, that is for the most part what sounds funny. And actually, I need to bring this up because I saw it in a Let's Game It Out video. The background and assets in Supermarket Simulator, I believe, are the same assets that were used in another game that they played recently in a video as of this recording called Vending Machine Simulator or something like that. And I just found it funny because I instantly recognized the background assets, the billboards, the building textures, the hot dog cart, all of that I instantly recognized. I'm like, oh crap, what if they're in the same universe type of thing? Or it could be just either the dev is the same person or they just have the same assets, because, you know, Unity and all that is his thing. So, you know, wouldn't really put it past them. But also for that reason, it's kind of reduced it to meh status, because while it is fun, the fact that, you know, they use assets that like that is kind of Now, as for the second best, that would go to TCG Card Shop Simulator. The reason being because it does more than just make money, in a sense. Like, obviously it is a shopping simulator like Supermarket Together and Supermarket Simulator, but this one also has the whole aspect of the gacha system that is in Pokemon cards or any trading card game thing there is, where you open a pack in hopes of finding really good cards. Now, in the game's sense, that is mostly just to earn money, but obviously there are those, likely in reality, that probably would be doing this in order to find cards that are good for battle decks and such. So there's always the alternate value in a card, which is what I will point out, because while I personally like opening up Pokemon packs and like to see the value in the cards, most times I just like seeing the cards I get. Although I do have a bunch of endless copies of certain Pokemon and all that in my case, that I have to have a whole box separate for the Ponytas, Pikachus, and all that I have gotten over the years of doing this. But yeah, that's the fun of this whole thing. I enjoy it every now and then. I mean, sure, it's gotten a little more expensive now to buy even just one pack, but, you know, doing it every now and then is fun. Like, just seeing what I got. So, yeah, with that said, that's why this game is the best. Not just for the fact that you're running a little card shop like a lot of people probably dream of, but the fact that you can open packs, you know, for that thrill. Now, before we get into the top games of 2024, we're going to go into the honorable mentions. Now, these would be games that would either be 6th through 9th at this point, since I'm only covering 4 specific ones. As I feel like, rather than the mid, these would all be followed into the best. Now, to start off, we're going to talk about Zenless Zone Zero, which, while I did enjoy the game and all that, it was the fact that they decided to change one of the characters' voice actors that just kind of threw me off. I get it, things happen, and, thus changes need to be made, but I just felt the changes just completely altered the character. Like, I just didn't like the new voice and all that. Like, if I know people like it, and you're entitled to that. I'm not saying that it's a bad thing per se. It's just that for me, I didn't really enjoy the new voice. So it kind of just threw me off and kind of made me lose interest. In terms of the other ones, we have Cocoon, which, again, it is a good game, and it's one of those ones that you play through once, essentially, once you've figured out how everything goes. And so with that, it's fine. Although there were parts that made me have to look up videos and all that, so there's that. And I think it took me a couple days to figure it out. Plus the fact that for whatever reason on Xbox Game Pass, there was a point where it didn't have any audio at all. Although that's more on Xbox's fault rather than the game itself, so I can't really fault it for that. But it still gave it a little bit of a minus to that. Next we have Summer House, which I will say is the really good game in terms of chill building games. Like, there's no scenario that you have to rebuild a whole town or anything, or you have to earn money to get the parts and all that. No, this is just, you build the place that you can think of going through as you're on summer break type of thing, thus the name. And it is just so nice. So it's definitely worth checking out. I definitely would recommend it if you're looking for a chill game to play. And it's relatively cheap. Like, if anything, if I had a top 10 or top 5 list for games to relax to while you're playing, this would be one of them. And lastly, we have Little Kitty Big City. This game I enjoyed really thoroughly, to the point that it's like, I practically finished the game in one stream. It is just so lovely, and the fact that this is the premiere game for Double Dagger Studios just says a lot. Like, honestly, I really wish that this was one of the nominees in the Game Awards this year, but unfortunately it's not. But yeah, with all that said, we're going right into the first place. So first place for me is Polybridge. The main reason being that there are just so many other games like it on both PC and on mobile, or anywhere else for that matter. Like, you have Polybridge 2 and 3, of course, but then you have like Castle Bridge Builders 1, 2, 3, or whatever number there is now. You have various other games that are of the similar variety where you have to try and build up a thing or tear down a thing in order to do it, and when you're done with the level, it shows you the stats where, if you're either in the middle of most people, or you're in like the best of most people, or you're in the worst of most people. And yeah, it's just that's all there is. I mean, hell, Portal has their own version of this whole thing, so it's like, it's not that unique of an idea and all that. And I say that despite everything that I talked about in the review of it. Like, it's an okay game, but it's not really that interesting at the end of the day. I mean, literally, all you're doing is putting a bunch of stuff together, making sure the cars or the boats or the planes, and if you're playing the future in the later versions, are, make it through in the orders that they come in. And sometimes it's annoying, because you have to try to make sure the bridge is stable enough as all of this is happening. So even if you can get the first thing through, you'll have to figure out how to get the second thing through before it destroys itself and all that. And that can be annoying at times, especially when you have to figure out weights and all that, and trying to figure out the best position for the bridge in itself and all that. So it gets tedious and gets boring because it's like you have to try so many times. So in the end, it's just meh. And the best game of 2024 is in fact the very first game I reviewed for 2024, Lethal Company. Now, the reason I chose this game was not only because of the gameplay and the graphics and all that, because both of those things were really good and all that, but it's the effect that it has on the gaming community as a whole. To quickly explain, obviously the main idea of the game is that you go into a facility to get some scrap so that you can make money, so you meet quota and all that, of course. However, what has happened since then has been such a blossom of things within the community, as well as within the game itself. From the dev updating the game, adding new creatures, new facilities, new monsters, new planets and all that to explore, to the community making mods, including planets, monsters and such, that just change the whole dynamic of the game, even adding things such as hide and seek and all that, with the fact you can buy the shotgun and shells and all that, and various other things that can alter how the game is played. To then, not only there being those kind of things, but there being games that are clones, spin-offs, variants of the mechanics of the game, such as Murky Divers, where it is essentially the same thing, except you're underwater and going to underwater facilities looking for scrap while avoiding sea beasts that will kill you, as well as the sea police, I suppose. And then there's, I think it's either Pilgrims or Pilgrimage, where you're one of 4 masked figures that go into these old medieval dungeons in order to collect treasure while avoiding monsters, of course, and traps and all that in order to make money. I'm not sure what the end game of that one is yet, but it's one of them, and there's so many others like it, and with more coming out as I'm recording this. So it's like there's so much potential for this core mechanic of just going into a facility, making scrap and money and all that, so you can proceed and get better gear and all that. It's such a brilliant game for that reason. In the end, I definitely recommend the game if you haven't tried it yet. What else can I say? It's the best game of 2024. And that's it. I know you probably might not agree, or slightly agree, or just, like the fact that I made a video. And you're welcome to that opinion, but once again, like I said earlier, this is all based on my experience with these games. So even if you feel slightly different, this is just how I felt when I played these games. Sure, they might have changed a bit because of different factors, such as the fact that I got a new graphics card, but the idea is still the same. Some of these games I consider the best even before that, and some of them not so much. But yeah, with all that said, I want to thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the end of the season. I will be back roughly around the same time for season 5, and look forward to checking out the games that come out this year, including one that I've been looking forward to ever since it was announced. So with that said, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Check out my Twitch where you can see me play games like this and more. And I'll see you next time. Bye!